Hello, I'm Chuck Benoit. Welcome to Restoring Our American Republic. Well, it's primary election time. Who do you know? There are so many people who we've never heard of that all of a sudden want us to vote for them to represent us. Where were they before they wanted our vote? Were they active in their local REC or RLC or FRA? Have they been at any grassroots meetings for the last several months, let alone the last decade? Well, the answer for most of them is no. They haven't been anywhere doing anything with local political organizations and especially with the grassroots organizations. So my suggestion is to either vet these people to the tens or possibly to look a little more closely to candidates that have already been here and proven that they're for us. And that goes especially for our direct representatives in the State House and Senate, as well as U.S. Congress. These people should be close enough and visible enough to contact and for them to know who we are. With that, our guest this morning is Rick Carlins, who among many things is Lake County Chapter President of the County Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. And let me get him up here in a second if I can find him. There he is. Welcome, Rick. I keep moving my buttons around and lost you there. So welcome. You're the director or a chairman. What do you call yourself?
Oh, as far as the CSPOA goes,
Yeah,
I
right.
am the Lake County Director,
There you
Lake
go.
County Director, Constitutional Sheriff and Peace Officers Association.
Among many things. Before we get too far, let's bring Mike Levine into our program. Good morning, Mike Levine.
Good morning, gentlemen. I just want to say, not only is Rick the director, the Lake County director of the CSPOA, he's one of the few directors in the country that actually got an ordinance passed through his Board of County Commissioners, which is massive. And and again, I say this all the time when I'm with Rick, or even when, especially when Rick is not there. But he is so impressive for the things that he's gotten done, right? I mean, the ban the jab movement a year or two ago. Rick was the point man on that and got really big things done, including the passage of the ban the jab resolution through the Republican Executive Committee, and that went in front of the Board of County Commissioners as well, didn't it, Rick?
Yes, it did.
And they passed it. What did they do, Rick?
Well, it was the anti forced vaccination is what they had, and I'm not sure whether that was before we did a ban the jab or after we did ban the jab. It must have been after.
So did they
That's
pass a
what they did.
resolution? Is that what they did?
It was a resolution, yes, yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
I
you can
have a
see my
copy of
point
it.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, my point is that Rick is an amazing leader who actually puts points on the board, which is very unusual, Chuck.
There we go. Well, thank you very much, Rick Carlins, for all that you do for we here in Lake County. So, getting right to the point, Lake County Commissioners passed a Bill of Rights Sanctuary County Ordinance, and that's not a resolution. That's an ordinance. Congratulations, Rick Carlins. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, actually, they called it instead of the sanctuary county because the chairman didn't, want the word sanctuary because it had annotations into the illegal immigrants where it had sanctuary in certain cities and counties. They called it protection instead. Now, what we did when we went in for the ordinance, that would be the Florida State Director, Bill Mitchell, and myself. We were looking to have the strongest version of the ordinance passed, which would be an enhanced version, we call it, and it comes with interposition. Now, because what we did though is it's a success that we have this ordinance. That's the first challenge that we have to have. It's so much easier to go back in with amendments, which is exactly what we're going to do. We want to make it easier for the citizen when he has a complaint that his rights may be violated, that he's going to be able to not have to go through just if this he'd be able to have local jurisdiction because it is the ordinance, which is as That's one of the most important things about it, is it just brings the jurisdiction into the county because it is an ordinance that was adopted here in Lake County. It's something though that should have been adhered to right along. The fact that we even need ordinances like this is a sad state for where we are at in the nation. Um, so I still, and you want to go and ask me a question if you think that because I know that there's a lot of areas to this that I'm not bringing up.
Well, you brought up interposition, and I just wanted you
Yeah.
to maybe expound on what it was in the term interposition that you were looking for that you did not get.
Okay, well, I mean, basically, as it's described in the enhanced version of the ordinance, that is my goal. And we're going to go and amend until, we have this language in there. But it's the doctrine of interposition reflects the duty of local governments. And duty is the key word of local governments to stand between the people and government actions that exceed constitutional authority, and to do so through lawful and constitutional means. That is the purpose for our magistrates and civil government, is to secure our rights. That's how we were established. That's the compact, the Constitution, the agreement that we made when the states created the federal government. Their powers are very limited, and the main and primary purpose is to secure our rights, as described in the first 10 amendments. So, but because we have an ordinance now, as I said, it's going to be easy to amend it in future meetings and to have it brought up on the agenda. And I'm thinking, that sooner rather than later. I would like to get started on this, right away.
I'm sure you would. Now, again, what you wanted wasn't totally there. You were looking for this interposition piece. Was there anything else that you really wanted in the ordinance that you didn't get?
Well, the easier way that a citizen may be able to petition that he has a violation against his rights. The ordinance that passed, they have to go to the county commissioners, and there's a certain process that they have to go through, and the commissioners have to agree that in fact their rights were violated before the county's going to get behind them to proceed. That process would be not necessary, with an enhanced version. But fundamentally is how I approach this from the very start. And these aspects of fulfilling this duty of interposition, and how we are going to achieve having our grievances heard because of the violation of our God-given rights. I approach this on that, the fact of the matter that of the laws of nature, and nature's God, and that is exactly how we were established as a nation. And so, as far as a lot of the dotting the i's and crossing the t's and how it gets handled in the courts and so forth, that's complications that that man has put on things. Um, you know, that's I just sincerely believe that we are founded on biblical principles, the Ten Commandments, and that's just gotten so far out of hand because these truths have not been adhered to and not applied.
Yeah,
And I know
let me just
I'm
throw up
not
here on
being.
the screen there, Rick. I think something that you were talking about. I think what I have is I'm here on the Lake County Board meeting, BCC regular board meeting, second Tuesday, May 19th, 2026, and this is what they have as their ordinance. And this section right here, I think, is what you're talking about. In the green here, I'll read it if you can't read it. It says the Lake County.
I can't see it.
Yeah, the Lake County Board of County Commissioners may, upon their own motion, file a lawsuit in the appropriate court to challenge federal action and seek a declaration that such actions are, and it goes on and on and on. But the point you're making is it's the Board of County Commissioners that are making the request. Although down here in the second little green section, it says residents of Lake County may additionally petition the Board of County Commissioners to file a lawsuit seeking a judicial declaration. So I think what the point we're making in this section is that if the Board of County Commissioners are unwilling to do something, nothing's going to happen, and that's not necessarily the best scenario. Are we on the same page there, Rick?
Well, we are, and most certainly since they're elected officials as well, and you do not know the mindset of future commissioners that are going to be sitting in that seat.
There you go.
So,
And if you don't mind, interposition would give them the duty to file, the duty to protect the citizen. And this is what the commissioners don't want. They don't want an ordinance that encumbers them with the duty to protect the citizen against a violation of their constitutional rights. That's a much different thing than what we have here. In this particular situation, as you guys have already explained quite clearly, the citizen has to file a complaint with the commissioners, and the commissioners may or may not defend the citizen against the violation of their rights. But if the interposition was put in place, they would have a duty to do so. And then as I'm also looking at my notes here, again, and I just basically encapsulated as well, they can agree that your right has been violated, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to agree to file the lawsuit under the current ordinances. I'm going to put this back to Chuck, who can get Rick involved if he'd like to.
Yeah. So that is the case, but I guess my only concern would be to bring our audience to a place where we're not happy with this. We're very happy with it, just not exuberant. Now, in one place, I heard that we were the second county to file something like this, and then somewhere else I saw the 7th, and I wasn't sure if that was a typo, because why don't you expand on that?
well, I'm thinking, Chuck, that that the ordinances and the resolutions were put together, and as how they come up with 7 in the country.
Okay.
But I'm not, and I've heard, Bill mention this, that we are just the second in the nation to have passed an ordinance like this. And yeah, it's a major step forward. It really is. And, as I said, it's going to be so much easier to go in and amend. But even without the amendments, we still have jurisdiction in the county, which is going to make the process much easier. And the other thing that the enhanced ordinance does is it has clear language. It brings clarity to the responsibilities and the duties of our civil authorities, the sheriff and the commissioners, and basically all magistrates. Now, they're all swore an oath to the Constitution, which in my mind, that they already have a duty to protect these rights that are in our Constitution. This just, it helps to bring clarity to this duty that they already have. And that's their fundamental purpose. And, when they are not doing that, then they're failing in that. So, it's what you have to have is you have to have somebody in office that has a clear sense of what their duty is, and actually, a concern for their constituents, that they may be able to live securely without having to, worry about the criminals that they allow to be on the streets, and just protecting good law instead of allowing bad there's just so many things that are going on that are upside down right now. And what we have to have is we have to have people with good moral character in office. And this ordinance would help that person to do his job. And specifically, I'm speaking of the sheriff who is an elected official and he has to answer to the people. But one of the things that he has to also do is he has to seek funding through the commissioners, which complicates things to a degree, I think, sometimes.
So let me throw up, unless Mike, you have something to say regarding that, I was going to throw up the definition of alleged unlawful act.
Well, I just want to make sure that we don't miss the opportunity to thank those commissioners who supported this. And I'm just going to name them off. In District 1, Anthony Sabatini voted yes. District 2, Commissioner Sean Parks voted yes. District 3, Commissioner Kirby Smith voted yes. And of course, Leslie Campione, the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners and Commissioner from District 4 voted yes, and Tim Morris, Commissioner from District 5, was the lone no vote. So for those people who voted yes, those commissioners, we have much gratitude for your support of this extraordinarily important ordinance, Chuck.
Okay, so I'm going to throw up again, reading right off of the website here for the Lee County Board of County Commissioners. The definition of an alleged unlawful act shall consist of any federal act, law, order, rule, or regulation which allegedly violates or unreasonably restricts or impinges upon an individual's constitutional rights, including but not limited to those enumerated in the Amendments 1 through 10 of the United States Constitution. So that's in essence what we're talking about, those particular rights. And one might think, well, doesn't the Constitution already do all of this? Well, not too long ago, within a day or so ago, I was listening to someone who I think was a U.S. congressperson who basically said something along the lines of, our rights come from the government, not from religion or God. And that is the express statement of a U.S. congressperson. So the answer to the question, why do we need this, is someone like them.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's just, again, that's absolutely true. So I don't know what else to say about this in particular. Oh, I do want to say, though, Chuck, that even though the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, are identified there, it also says, but not limited to. So the ordinance does protect all of your constitutional rights, not just those rights specified in the Bill of Rights, Chuck.
Yeah, that's for sure. So another thing that you kind of alluded to, and I'm not sure if maybe it was before we got on the air, is the part that the local sheriff has in all this. Were you under the impression that this ordinance didn't give the sheriff enough responsibility or put him enough in the center of all this, Rick? Why don't you elaborate?
Well, they don't grant the sheriff any authority. The sheriff already has the authority. So, everything is in place that we already need. It just, it's, they just, I don't know exactly. I don't, because as I said, I was going after this fundamentally, and with regards to that, but I don't know. They don't have the authority to grant the sheriff permission to do things and to not do things. That's basically it right there.
Yeah, well, that's true. The Constitution gives the sheriff the responsibility. And again, I've shared this several times on several different mediums. But the sheriff is the most powerful law enforcement officer in the country, and the reason for that is very, very simple. He's the only elected law enforcement officer in the country. So we the people elect him, and that makes him an extremely important and powerful law enforcement agent. So he does have all of these opportunities, authorities, and of course responsibility to protect us, which includes the concept of interposition, even though it may not be in our ordinance.
And also, at this point, we should take the opportunity to thank Sheriff Peyton Grinnell because Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, but he did. It was well known to the commissioners that the Sheriff Peyton Grinnell supported the adoption of the ordinance. Is that correct, Rick?
Yes, he did. He told his secretary to let me know that he spoke with each one of them individually and expressed his support for the ordinance. Now, the ordinance that he supported was a stronger version than what we have right now. So that's also going to make it easier for me to go in there and have some amendments in order to reflect the clarity that's in the enhanced version. And the other thing too is that's it clearly talks about the anti-commandeering act that the Supreme Court passed a while back, and it's they litigated on it, but it's just that we are not going to use our resources and manpower to enforce what is considered to be unconstitutional or to violation of our first 10 amendments of the Bill of Rights, like shutting down a church when they leave other businesses open, to be forced to have a vaccination. If these are things that just are not going to be enforced. And now there are some sheriffs in the country that just would go along with something like that for fear of political reprisal. But that's where I want us to stand strong in Lake County is, to stand up on the values and the, good law, actually. So that's that.
Okay, so could you possibly articulate a little bit about what you would actually want next?
Well, it's just it would have the interposition clause, and they don't have to go through a step-by-step process, as you pointed out, with making sure that the commissioners are going to agree that this is in fact an infringement on the Bill of Rights. And it just clarifies the enforcement of our constitutional rights as they already exist. This doesn't really change anything. We've had all these things are already explicit, in our Constitution and in our Bill of Rights. It's just clarifying the issue and bringing jurisdiction within a county level is what it's doing. And what we have to have, though, in all honesty, is we have to have an Anthony clearly brought this to attention as it's just a piece of paper unless you have good people that understand the virtue and that have virtue and that are going to be willing to do what's necessary to protect the citizenry when their rights are being infringed upon. That is a prerequisite. That's a must. It's a foundational block that must be there in order for us to get back to our original constitutional principles. And the ordinance does help to do that and bring clarity within county because we have that jurisdiction within the county, and it starts to bring attention to it and just clarifies it. That's it.
Well, we do have one more topic that we would like to kind of squeeze in here in the last 5 or so minutes we have, and that's kind of what we started out with my little intro, the idea of who is running for office. We've got this primary going on. There's a lot of agitation actually in the RP off right now regarding what they want to do and not do with people who are trying to run for office, and a lot of dirt being thrown around, etc. You also are the president of the Lake County, Florida Republican Assembly, and they have come out and endorsed a Florida 11 candidate. Is that correct, Rick?
Yes, and I would say that endorsement came specifically from the FRA president, Lou Marin.
Yeah.
There was no
So
discussion.
what is the endorsement process at the FRA, Rick? What is the, as a matter of fact, now that we're discussing this, I remember that in order to be endorsed by the FRA, there was quite a lengthy process that had to be gone through, right? You had to attend a certain amount of FRA meetings and jump through all kinds of hoops to get an endorsement from the FRA. But this guy walks onto the scene and gets the endorsement by the nod of Lou Marin. Is that correct?
It seems to be the case, yes. And
Wow.
the endorsement process that the forms that you fill out have gotten quite lengthy, and they're much more involved than they were that you're remembering to the last election cycle. I think there's
Well, I'm telling you that I remember as a candidate that to get
yeah.
endorsed by the FRA, you had to go through their campaign school. You had to attend a certain number of meetings, and there was quite a list of things you had to do. And all of a sudden, the statewide chairman of the FRA jumps on board as a campaign manager, is what I'm being told. And then what you're telling me is unilaterally smacks an endorsement on this candidate. Is that correct, Rick?
Well, yeah, I am also, the national director for the FRA, and I'm on the executive board in the state. And, so yeah, I wasn't involved. I'm on the executive board. It's not just that the members, in each individual county chapter had anything to say about it, but I mean, just the few people that are on the board weren't.
I would suggest that is, if I was on the board, I would not acknowledge, I would deny that this candidate is endorsed because he did not go through the process. That's what I would do, but that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. And that's a real concern to me. And then I don't, again, I haven't vetted out the story personally, but I was told by people very close to the subject matter that this gentleman came to the United States from India when he was 2 years old. And he was taken out of public schools because his parents didn't like the content of the education he was getting. So he went through and was educated in Catholic schools. Yet he does not, he has not adopted Catholicism, and I'm told um, refuses to disavow Islam. Is that your understanding, Rick?
Yeah, I've heard that, but I mean, I'm not going to be able to say that that's absolutely the way that the facts. So, but
But
yes,
you would agree,
well, I've
Rick, but
heard
you
that
would
he's a
agree.
Muslim. I didn't know about the history of him being, a Catholic and
Okay,
so.
well, that's what I was told. But here's the
Yeah.
next step, right? So, based on your understanding of the FRA, which I would
Mhm.
suggest you have a pretty deep understanding of the FRA has stood on Judeo-Christian values since day one,
Amen.
right? So,
That's why I'm a part of it.
would you
Absolutely.
agree that if there is a candidate who openly and acknowledges that they adhere to the religion of Islam, that would, in my opinion, for me, and I'm hearing you say it, to me that would disqualify the candidate. Would you not agree? I wouldn't
100,
vote for them.
100%, 100%.
So it'll be interesting to hear Chairman Marin address that as he has taken on the role of this gentleman's campaign management. Agreed?
Agreed. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
there you go. Chuck, what do you think?
Well, yeah, the whole thing was very confusing to me as well because I as well was under the strong impression that Lou Marin's faith was first and his political affiliations or whatever were secondary to that. And the problem with the whole idea of freedom of religion is simply that it has boundaries, and those boundaries are the laws of nature and nature's God. And any religion that violates the laws of nature and nature's God has also violated their right to be an accepted religion, and that has nothing to do with hate of or opinion. That's the Constitution, and there's nothing more that we need to say about it. Islam, and in the fullness of Islam, Sharia law is unconstitutional, and we should not be putting anyone close to power who feels otherwise. So we have pretty much come to the end of our time. Rick, would you like to just give us a minute of final presentation on what your concerns are or what you like about what just happened? And then, Mike, I'll give you a shot.
Well, yes, and just fundamentally, as I said, our Bill of Rights and our God-given rights are primarily, and it's most important to me. It's why I live and why I breathe, and so this is why I tried to bring this here, and then it relates into what we're speaking of now with Islam, and when it's adhered to, it is. It is, fundamentally unjust. It does not allow people to worship in any other religion. You have to comply or they eliminate you. So in our nation, you cannot infringe on other people's rights like that. And so what we need to do is just get back to God, the Ten Commandments, and what the intent was when our Constitution was formed, and just to have our jurisprudence, reflect that again, rather than accept every one of man's the imaginations of what it is that he wants to live like or thinks that he has a right to do. Because in many cases, it's just it's an infringement on other people's rights. So that's it. Just
Super.
need to get back to God.
And Mike, a few final words.
I would just say that while at this point in our history, anybody can run for public office. Any citizen in the United States, based on federal and state election laws, can run, but we have no constitutional duty to vote for them. And that's it. We can vote for whoever we want, and we can support whoever we want, and we can support the organizations that we want. So just because somebody files does not mean that we have to support them, and that would not be a prejudicial act to refuse to vote for someone based on their, I'm going to call Islam a political ideology, not a religious ideology. So that's what I'm saying. So you can run if you want. Okay, if you're a citizen of the United States and you want to run for Congress, run. But it certainly does not, and it does not require us to support your campaign or vote for you, or even give you a platform in our organizations. That's what I would say, Chuck.
Well, thank you, Rick Carlins. Thank you, Mike Levine. And thank you all for tuning in to our twice weekly live stream. Please follow us on Facebook and X at Restore Our Rep 76, or check us out on YouTube at Restoring Our American Republic ROAR. Please like and share the program. And remember, if you're unwilling to govern yourself, you will be governed by tyrants. Until next time, God bless you. God bless President Donald J. Trump. And God bless America.
Amen.